Yeah, my friends, you are welcome to this video, and I am so happy to have you here. Thank you so much for joining us on the channel. I'm very, very sure that the time you're going to be investing in this video, you're not going to be wasting it. So, this video is focused on the Atlantic Immigration Pilot Program. So, it is one of the easiest way to actually move to Canada right now because it is actually highly favored by the general immigration policy of Canada. So, that's because they actually want people to migrate to their rural area. Not necessarily rural, but then it's not as developed as some other parts of Canada. And actually, it is the original Canada. So they really want the place to also develop. So they are trying to um, kind of motivate people's movement to that area. So basically, in this video, we're going to be talking about the Atlantic Immigration Biology Program. We're going to be talking about the basic components of it, the jobs for the Atlantic Immigration Pilot Program, and then the documents you need to get ready, how you're going to be preparing for the application. So I'm going to run you through everything, and I'm sure you're going to enjoy the video. So let's start. So what is Atlantic Immigration Pilot Program? It's actually a pathway to permanent residency in Canada, and then it targets skilled workers and international graduates from a Canadian institution. So if you're a skilled worker from anywhere in the world, including Canada, you can actually apply for the Atlantic Immigration Pilots Program and then get it approved. And once it's approved, you get your permanent residency straight. You become a permanent resident of Canada. And with that card, you can actually basically enjoy yourself all around Canada, although you'll be living in Atlantic, Canada. So applicant must be ready to work and live in the Atlantic zone, the Atlantic part of Canada, like I have explained. You must be ready to live in the Atlantic Canada, and this Atlantic Canada includes four provinces, and these four provinces includes New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, Prince Edward Island, and then the Newfoundland and Labrador. Those are the three provinces that are in the Atlantic Canada, and those are the three provinces that are under this Atlantic Immigration Pilot Program. And it's a program that has been going on for a while now, and a lot of people are using it. So basically, the program helps the employers to employ qualified employees from all around the world, from everywhere in the world, including Canada as well. So basically, what they're trying to do is to get people that are can contribute to the economy of Canada and the economy of companies, both private and public in Canada. So this is a pathway that you should focus on, research on, be committed to. It can change your life. It can change it for good if you focus on it. So any employer that intends to hire foreign workers must apply to become a designated employer in that province. So each province has its own list of designated employer, and as an AIPP applicant, all you need to do is to get a job from any of these designated employer. Do you understand that? So each provinces have their own designated list of employers. So you can just research the list and then try and see how you can become an employee to any of those employers that are designated in each of these provinces. I hope you understand. Once you're able to get that done, you're able to secure the job, you are good to go. Basically, you are good to go. So and so the major thing you have to do is research, get the designated employer, and then look at their list, look at the companies. Which of them is closely related to you, what you do, or what you have the skill about. Then try and see how you can become the employee. Once you apply, you get the job, and you are good to go. Also, it's also possible to get a job from somebody that is not designated actually. And when that happens, what you just need to do is to encourage the person to become designated. And when the person becomes designated, you can easily use the Atlantic Immigration Pilot Program to run the procedure, and then you are good to go. So, designated employer can actually hire qualified overseas candidates and those living in Canada as temporary residents. That's exactly what I'm saying. So they can hire from anywhere in the world. So now you may apply for an optional temporary work permit. So because the thing is that this application for this Atlantic Immigration Pilot Program is not fast. It is a very slow process. So Now, if you get a job in Canada and they need you to resume as soon as possible, you can actually get a temporary work permit so that you can go to Canada and start the work. And then when you start the work, the visa processing can continue running. You just notify the embassy, although it is the same embassy that will issue you the temporary work permit, but you still need to notify them that you have now relocated to Canada, and now the result of your Atlantic Immigration Pilot Program application should be sent to your new residence in Canada. I hope you understand that. So that's the way it works. So you don't have to even stay till the end because it takes a kind of long time. I will still be talking about how long it takes to get the Atlantic Immigration Pilot Program process complete. So, so while that is going on, while you can get a temporary work permit to move to Canada. That's the point I'm trying to drive at this point. So now, since you will need to apply for the Atlantic Immigration Pilot Program, so there are basic things that have to be in place before you can then start your resident permits application. The first one is the job offer from a designated employer. In fact, that's the first and the most important. There must be a job, there must be a designated employer that is offering you a job. And then you can also get, like I said, even if it is not a designated employer, all you just need to do is to let the person join the list. So now, after that, there must be a referral letter from the Atlantic province where you will be working. So after getting the job, the designated employer have to notify the province and then be able to get a referral letter that supports you to come, because the province is going to investigate and be sure that that skill is actually not really available before they can allow you to move all over to Canada. Then proof of your status as a recent Canadian institution graduate or qualified international skilled worker. So, like I have explained, you can either be a qualified skilled worker from anywhere in the world or a graduate from a Canadian institution. So there must be something, a document that is proving your status that you can easily prove as maybe with your international passport plus probably a license or a certificate of a profession, stuff like that that qualifies you that you really have the skill and you can actually make that happen and you can be a suitable employee for the role they are looking for. And then your means of identification, and then which can be a national ID or international passport. But in this case, dealing with immigration, you're going to be talking most likely for the international passport. And then your application fee. As at when this video is being made, the application fee is around 1,525 Canadian dollars. It is important that you do your recent research and confirm the price. I'll be linking some of the websites in the description of this video so that you can check the price. So that you can check the price. I hope you understand that now. So now the processing time can be up to 7 good months. That's exactly what I'm talking about. So once you want to do this, you must be ready and committed to it. Give it your best and make sure that you cross your T's and you dot your I's. Anything that needs to be done, anything that can hinder you should be clear of, because investing 7 months into a project must be worthwhile. 7 months of a lifetime is a whole lot of time. Everybody is going to agree with that fact. So now let's talk about the steps that you need to follow. The first step, like I've said, is getting the job offer. Then the second step is get your documents ready. All the documents you'll be needing for the application, you need to get them ready. Then you apply for permanent residence, then apply for a temporary work permit. Option actually, but it's the best way to actually transit as fast as possible, which is actually your aim in the first place. And then you get there. And even if you are having issue with your current designated employer, you might just get another designated employer, which is going to be easier done when you are already there compared to when you are still back home in any of the country that you are actually. And then after you submit your application, biometrics and medical exams will be done. That is normal procedure for visa processing. And then the final step is to wait for the result. As simple as that. Direct and straightforward. But now let's talk about the basic components, the basic factors of the job for Atlantic Immigration Pilot Program, because the job that you're going to be getting has some requirements that it has to fulfill. I hope you understand that now. And that's exactly what I'll be talking about in this next section. So now, like I've explained, you must get the job offer, and the job must fulfill the following condition, which is number one, it must be a full-time job. It must be a full-time job. So it can't be a seasonal job because you are going to be in the country permanently. So it doesn't make sense for the job to be available for just 6 months, 3 months, 9 months in a year. What will happen to you for the remaining other 3 months when the job was not available and there's no pay for you? So they want to ensure the country want to ensure that you are financially secured throughout the year. You won't be a liability for the country at any point in time. Number two is that the job offer must be non-seasonal. Like I've explained, it must be non-seasonal at all, and it has to be permanent. Number three is that the job offer must have consistent and regularly scheduled paid employment throughout the year. All these 3 points are actually saying the same thing. It must be a regular job and it must be scheduled all around the year to ensure that you receive payment throughout the year. Then for NOC 2021 tier 0, 1, 2, or 3 categories, the employer must be offering you a job that will last at least 1 year from the time you become a permanent resident. So now once that simply means that from the time the result of your Atlantic Immigration Pilot Program is released, I hope you get that now. The employer must be ready to give you a job that will last at least 1 year. It cannot be lower than 1 year. So once that is fulfilled, then we need to talk about the next point. So the job offer cannot come from a company where you or your spouse or common law partner are a majority owner. So it can be your own company or the company of your family member or your common law partner or something like that. It has to be an independent company that you have no affiliation of ownership or shareholding with. I hope you get that. Very, very important because if that happens, they might believe that you're trying to play some games with them and the visa officer won't want to apply, won't want to approve that kind of application. So that would be an independent company. That's the part you have to pay attention to. The job must be at the same skill level as or higher than the work experience that qualified you for the job, unless you are an international graduate from a recognized post secondary institution in Atlantic Canada. I hope you get that. So that means that the job you are doing back home must be lower or at least equal to the job you want to become taking all over there in Canada. So you can't be doing something higher here and you can't be doing something lower over there. That's what they're trying to say there. So they want to ensure that truly the experience you have garnered before will be a stepping stone to a higher level for you. Okay, that. But there are exceptions to that rule. Yeah. So the session is that for certain healthcare sector jobs, you don't need to have a job offer at the same skill level or higher than the qualifying work experience. Example are licensed practical nurse, registered nurses, nurse aides, and home healthcare workers. So for this group of people, you do not need this kind of requirements. And that's simply because Canada has a kind of selective preferential treatment, so to say, for healthcare worker, especially healthcare aid workers like nurses in particular, all kind of nurses varieties you can think of. That's because they need them to support their growing old people, so they employ them sometimes to stay at home to help old people, to help sick people and stuff like that. You have to get that now. So they need people like that. They are really giving them preferential treatment to come over. That's just the facts, pure facts. And they are making a whole lot of money over there. So when a designated employer offers you a job, they will give you an offer of employment to a foreign national firm. So you must make sure you meet the employment requirement listed in the National Occupation Classification. So when you get the job, they will give you the form to fill. So you fill the form, sign the form, and keep a copy for your record because you will need this form when you work with a service provider organization on your settlement plan and for your PR application. I hope you are still with me. So now, when you get the job from the designated employer, they will give you a form. That form is for the foreign skilled employee. So you fill it and you keep a copy for yourself. So there are some requirements that I've explained there concerning the national occupation classifications, because in Canada they have some category for occupations where they classify them into about five groups: 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So and there are kind of different requirements for each of those classifications. So you must be sure that you must first determine the NOC class of your job, one, and then determine the requirements that are peculiar for AIPP for that your classification, and make sure that the job you have been doing before, the one you want to go and do, meets up the requirements as pertains to your case. Then let's move to the last characteristic, which is number 10. If you receive a job from an employer, ask for a copy of employer's confirmation of designation. Very important, because if you be using aipp, except you want to use work permit, if you be using aipp, you need their confirmation of designation, because it's part of the requirement for the aipp. And once you're able to confirm that, tell them, able to confirm that they have it, no problem. But if they don't have it, you have to tell them to go and apply for it. Except you're not going to be using aipp. But if you're going to be using aipp, you have to tell them to go and apply for it. And once they apply for it and get it, then they can give it to you. And they can also use it to support your aipp application, and you can move over and start your work as soon as possible. So now, the next session we'll be going to now is the documents you need to get ready for your aipp in Canada. AIPP, I hope you still remember what the full meaning of AIPP is: Atlantic Immigration Pilot Program. So now, the first one we need to talk about is the language proficiency test. You must have a language proficiency test. Canada doesn't joke with that. They don't want to hear any story concerning that. It is a must. You must do it. Just find a way of doing it. Any way you can do it. So they accept the following tests. They accept CELPIP, they accept IELTS, they accept PTE for English proving. You want to prove your English. And then for those who would like to prove French in addition, you can use TEF and TCF Canada. So, but then English is the most important. Although if you have French in addition, it's going to be an extra point for you. So now, the requirement varies for the tier of the job. If your job is in tier 01, 2, or 3, you'll be needing CLB 5. And then if your job is in tier 4, you'll be needing CLB 4. CLB stands for Canadian Language Benchmark. It's important that you familiarize yourself with all these basic things so that it can really help your research and then give you speed in everything you are doing as per the application. So now, educational credential assessment, that's the next thing we'll be talking about. So there's an organization called WES, World Education Service. So what they do is that they actually equate educational qualifications all around the world. They equate it from one country to the other. So in this case now, you're doing your WES for Canada. So they will help you to evaluate your credentials and equate it to Canadian standards, so that you can prove to the embassy or to the immigration service that your education is actually equivalent to this level of education in their country. And that will help them to make more holistic judgments about your application. I hope you get what I'm trying to say there. So the educational credential assessment is very, very important. As a matter of fact, sometimes when you want to, most times rather, when you want to do application for graduate studies or even bachelor studies in Canada and North America generally, they usually require this thing, and because it makes it easy for them. In fact, once you have it, you already crossed a very big hurdle and you're closer to getting admitted in North America. So educational credential assessment is a very important thing that you have to do. That makes it the second document. And then the third one is the settlement plan. The settlement plan. So like I have explained initially in one of our requirements for the jobs, once you actually get the job, you are going to be working with an organization that's help you with your settlement. So now you are going to be getting some documents from those companies too that you'll be using for your immigration plan. So after getting a job from a designated employer, you need to get a free settlement plan that will help you and your family adjust to your new home in Atlantic Canada. To do this, you can check with your designated employer for recommendations. This service is free. You don't need to pay for it. So you'll be working with them to help you settle down in your new area. So that is what our settlement plan is all about. So once you start working with them, they'll be able to issue documents for you, which you can now use as part of your document for your Atlantic Immigration Pilot Program. So that is why the starting point for this thing is the job. So once you secure the job, then the employer over there can then help you to get a lot of other things that you might need in support for your application. Then number 4 is the certificate of endorsement. Don't forget, I mentioned that the province must actually verify and be sure that that job they are employing you for is actually scarce and it's actually available, but there are no people to do it. You understand that? So once that is confirmed, that is when they will give you the certificate of endorsement to come over. So after getting your settlement plan, the promise must endorse your job offer, like I've explained. Your employer will handle this process. You must confirm with your employer that your employment offer has been endorsed before you submit your permanent residence application. So all this must have been settled before you start your application at all. Furthermore, if the province endorse your job offer, you will get a certificate of endorsement in your email also. So because you submit an email to the employer and the employer is obliged to submit it to the province, so that when they issue the result, the employer receive it and you also receive it. It's going to be a simultaneous notification. So and then you must include this endorsement certificate in your PR application. Don't forget, it's a pathway to permanent residence, a straight pathway. So it is worth the effort if you can actually do it. It's worth the effort. Then finally, the next thing I'll be talking about is the online application forms. There are forms we'll be filling online, a whole lot of them, plenty. So I'll be putting the link to those forms in the description of this video so you can check them out and see what it looks like and why you get prepared and try your luck in the whole process. Then the other basic document like international passports, you definitely will be needing that. If you plan to go with a spouse or a former flat and something like that, you will need document to prove your status or how to connect to you. So you need something like marriage certificates and all like that. Birth certificate for your children. If for your children as well, and basically in this case for yourself in particular, that's what I'll be talking about. So your birth certificate and for everybody in the family anyway, needing it. And then for yourself, your degree certificates are also very, very important. I am so happy that we stayed to the end of this video, and I believe that the video has been very, very engaging from the beginning to the end. Please like this video if you really like it, share it with your friends, and then subscribe to this channel because more informative videos will still be coming up on this channel, and I'm sure that I'm going to be giving it my best. Please support the family. Let's build the family to a large family. And thank you so much. And I will see you in the next video. Bye.